The public safety records of one Governor Gavin Newsom and one Governor Ron DeSantis, Florida versus California, that's going to be on a debate stage at the end of this month. DeSantis versus Newsom.
Yeah, it's November 30th.
End of next
I'm sorry.
month.
Okay.
End of November, end of October.
I thought it was end of November.
Next month.
You know what? I
think
can
you're
Google
right.
that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But we have another debate coming up in Miami.
November 5th
Yeah.
or 8th or something. It's coming up. Yeah, I lose all these dates. I'm so focused.
It'll be on NBC.
Well, a week from now, I think actually next week, it's already upon us. It always creeps up so fast every year. Asexual Awareness Week. And so I'm so focused on the usual celebrations for Asexual Awareness Week, I've lost track of some of these debates. But anyway, I digress. So DeSantis and Newsom are going to debate. What are their respective records? I mean, violent crime in big cities, still a big issue. We had, not only because of the data, but because of high-profile stories like the New Orleans DA and his mom being carjacked this week, or, of course, in Chicago, like the horrific killing of this great young man, by all accounts, Sal Herrera, who was acting as a good Samaritan and was shot and killed on the near West Side. So what's going on, California versus New York? The FBI released national stats on 2022. Violent crime nationally fell 1.7%, dipping back to the same level as before the pandemic. But in California, violent crime is up 13% since 2019. So 6x the national. And in Florida, it's down 31.5%. So 16x the national, the other direction. The rate of violent crime in California, 500 people being victimized per 100,000. In DeSantis' Florida, 258 per 100,000, about half. California has strict gun laws. In fact, lest we forget, Gavin Newsom, like the political ruling class here, championed a measure in California to decriminalize thievery. Right?
Right.
Sure did. In California, you have prosecutors, George Soros funded, who refuse to charge quote-unquote nonviolent crimes, which, as we know from the work of Rafael Mangual, the Manhattan Institute, and others, always have violence as their undercurrent. And when you see the same thing happen in Florida, prosecutors unwilling to do their jobs, Ron DeSantis, because he has the power to as governor of Florida, steps in and replaces them. Sends a message throughout the criminal justice system in Florida when a governor does that, doesn't it? And the results are the results. The results are the results. You want to compare Florida to Illinois? J.B. Pritzker doesn't want you to. I'll tell you that right now. Kim Foxx doesn't want you to. BLM Brandon doesn't want you to. So in that measure, to the extent that it becomes at least a discussion point in a national race, even though these are largely state and local matters, the comparison contrast of states that are attracting population versus states that are hemorrhaging population on this measure, like so many others, is quite telling. For more on this topic, as well as a few others, please be joined again by Christopher Whalen, investment banker and chairman of Whalen Global Advisors. He's also the author of Ford Men, From Inspiration to Enterprise, and editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst. Chris, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
How's the public safety challenge going in New York City under Eric Adams? It seems like he's additionally taxed by the influx of migrants.
Yeah, it's been pretty much a disaster for the city. He actually went into court and asked that the constitutional right to shelter that has been in place in New York for a while basically be suspended because the city cannot fulfill it. They just don't have the capacity to do it. And the Republican governors, of course, are putting the migrants who have arrived in this country under Biden, basically relaxation of the rules. And they just send them to New York because they know New York has to house them. It's very interesting. Adams is doing, I think, a reasonably decent job. You've seen the police reassert themselves on the street, which is good, but the city is still quite dangerous, especially off hours. What I've told my friends is you want to ride the subway during rush hour, okay, but after that, you really don't want to do it because the random acts of violence and stupidity that we've seen in the city, attacks on the subway, we just had a woman pushed in front of a train, are going to continue because, unfortunately, that element is much more prevalent on the street than they were in the past. You know, the days of Dinkins and Giuliani, when the city was reasonably safe, are done. You know, I knew David Dinkins. He was a member of the Lotus Club in New York, and he started the process of cleaning up the city. And then Giuliani came in after, and Bloomberg as well. But the damage done by, the previous regime, de Blasio, was just unbelievable. De Blasio and the progressives flushed 30 years of progress in New York City down the toilet in a year.
Yeah, going back to the migrants, I mean, we have 19,000 now. You have 132,000. Has there been a lot of pushback from residents?
Oh, yeah. The residents are really pissed off. But the thing of it is, what are you going to do with these people if the federal government washes their hands of responsibility?
You're talking about the residents or the migrants? What are you going to do with the residents of New York, or what are you going to do with the people that have been brought in?
The politics is so twisted, as you know, Dan. Why would a southern governor just put these people on a plane or a bus and send them here? That's a very cynical and cruel thing to do. On the other hand, these people shouldn't have been admitted in the first place. So ultimately, that goes back to the Biden administration. We have dysfunction at every level right now. I think the people are calling for a centrist alternative that is competent to govern. You see that in Congress. By 2 weeks from now, the Republicans are going to have to cross the aisle and start talking to Democrats about electing a speaker. And I think they're going to have to marginalize Jordan and the others because they don't want to govern. They basically want chaos. And I don't believe that's productive.
Well,
is
I'm
that
not.
really what we want?
Well,
Do we want a default?
Well,
That'd be great.
I think that may describe Gates. I don't think it's fair to ascribe that to Scalise or Jordan, two of the options that House Republicans had with respect to the speakership. So I think you have to draw some lines of distinction between some of the individual actors.
Well, when you're in a leadership position, things change. When you're sitting in the chair and you got the gavel in your hand, things change. And I hope that's the case with Jordan. He's a very smart guy. I mean, I support him in a lot of ways, especially on fiscal issues. But the way we get sanity in this country is by forcing the Democrats to do the right thing. And to say, do you want a failed Treasury auction? Is that what we're talking about here, guys? I just did a piece about the banks and the blog. One of the things I talked about was that they're going to require everybody who trades Treasury bonds to be a member of the clearinghouse in New York. That means the old days of Stevie Cohen and the other hedge funds running the basis rate with borrowed collateral are going to be over. They're going to have to own those Treasury bonds to pledge them on a trade, and that's going to reduce leverage in the system dramatically. It's bad for Goldman, bad for Morgan Stanley. So,
is bad for Goldman and bad for Morgan Stanley bad for America?
No, we could use less leverage, but that means that we're going to have a smaller crowd bidding for Treasury auctions, and that's going to put more pressure on interest rates. I think you're going to see Powell go up to Capitol Hill, by the way, and look at them and say, you're going to run an 8% deficit this year? I can't drop interest rates. Thank you.
Well,
okay. How do you think that'll be received?
Well, we talked to you. This has to be 6 months ago, and you said, don't when mortgage rates, I should say, had come down a skosh. You said, don't get too comfortable. They could bump back to 10%, and that's we're at 8% now, and there's the prospect that Powell rates hikes again. So you may have been prescient there.
Well, it's not just that, but the process of normalizing things after COVID, after all the money that the Fed dumped in the street and Congress, is going to take time. It's not going to just happen tomorrow. So I'll give you, actually, let me see where I got the old Bloomberg up here. Right now, the forwards for next month for mortgages, you should be writing 8.5s if you want to make money. Now, the industry is not doing that because there aren't many loans out there. Volumes are very low. A lot of buyers are out of the market.
Lowest home sales in 13 years, right?
Yeah. But if you're a mortgage banker and you actually want to make money, if you sell the loan, you've got to be writing 8.5s in this market. So, yes, could we go to 10% on mortgages in the United States? Yes, very easily.
I want to also ask you something about corporate America that was impressed upon me by a friend I was talking to who's got a couple of kids that are, at elite schools, and they amassed impressive academic records. One's a Fulbright scholar, and so on and so forth. And they're doing okay, but the offers are not coming like you think they would. And it's the whole environment. And he also was a big shot on Wall Street back in his day. And so he has a handle on this, talking to other people too. He said also, like, these consultancies and big banks and big accounting firms, there's just not the work there. So like the whole sort of the kids coming out of the elite schools that are not too busy promoting Hamas, that are actually focused on their professional careers. It's not the rosy picture that the low unemployment rate would tell you, and some of the inflated salaries would tell you, that the whole sort of environment in corporate America is a bit concerning, particularly with those coming into the system. But the larger point is, whether you're in the system or you're trying to get into the system, there isn't the work there, I guess, is the overriding point.
Oh, no. No, listen, one of the veteran bankers that I sit with when I'm in the city said to me the other day, he goes, Chris, in my career, I've made toys and I've fixed broken toys. And now I think is the time to fix broken toys. So you're going to see a lot of talent on the street going into restructuring as opposed to doing deals. And for the big banks, a lot of those bankers really don't have any work to do unless they can go out and do IPOs and debt deals and the rest of it. So I think, yes, there's going to be a dearth of activity until, the economy basically adjusts to this level of interest rates. And I don't think the Fed is going to go anywhere near low enough to really get the animal spirits up on their hind legs anytime soon because of the deficit. So now you're starting to see that Powell, who doesn't like to lecture Congress about fiscal issues, right? He's said that many times. He's going to have to, because he has no choice. He is the banker to the United States. And he has to look at Janet Yellen and say, Janet, you need to cut spending. And she doesn't want to hear that, of course. But, look at Biden. He's getting ready to ask for $100 billion for Ukraine and Israel. And we got to go out and borrow that money. Plain and simple. That's it.
Not that I put much stock in what Gary Gensler has to say at SEC, but he is suggesting that a concern he has, since this sort of stock market rally this year has been led by a handful of companies, particularly those in the AI space. His concern is that a small number of AI-based models could lead investors to herd behavior, where many of them sell or buy at the same time because their models have told them to, but the number of base models is likely to rise over time, not fall. So in other words, do you see the concern that he's expressing, that AI led this resurgence and AI could lead a pretty significant market correction?
We talk about this a lot. I'm actually a member of FINRA's Economic Advisory Committee, so we talk about these issues a lot. In other words, could investors be misled by content created by AI? Because there's nobody there. It's just a machine, right, telling you what to do. Machines are often wrong. So, yes, you could have somebody out pumping a stock using AI bots on Twitter or any of the other social media. And they'll all pile in because humans chase the shiny object. But let's remember something, Dan. Vanguard and BlackRock, control most of the stock market. And they have a bias towards higher prices. In other words, if a stock moves up, they buy more because it's weighted by market cap. So the whole, the whole slant, the whole posture of the market is long. It's actually very hard to get a sell-off nowadays because so many managers, look at my banks, The banks should be down a little more given the concerns, right? Higher interest rates, consumers, everything else. But they're not. They really haven't sold off that much. So you hear this narrative, oh me, oh my, right? But then you look at the stock prices. Jamie's, where is he this morning? He's 1.4 times book. It's off a whole 0.5. So this market wants to be long. The managers are desperate to be long because they want to put the money to work and earn their fees, right?
So it's
kind of quiet now. So where do you go?
So don't fight City Hall. It's don't fight Vanguard and BlackRock. Just go along with the program.
Yeah, the Fed is a subsidiary of Vanguard and BlackRock. Think about it that way. Okay, because think about the money they control. Vanguard controls every 401k in the country. If you don't have Vanguard on your website to show to your employees for the 401k, you could get sued. Think about that. So that's a monopoly.
That is a good way to think about it. It certainly cuts through a lot of the complications. You don't have to look at too many charts to understand that. Okay.
Well, the natural tendency in markets is towards centralization. That's why we have antitrust laws. Question is, where's Teddy? What do we need him? We need a Republican to go after antitrust. But listen, Gary Gensler is causing lots of problems for Wall Street. He's going to take away pay to play. You're not going to be able to buy low anymore. He's going to require centralized clearing of Treasury bonds. He's got a big agenda. They put out 4 rules last year that each one was enormous, and they put them all out at the same time. So the street hasn't even been able to react to this because of what happened last March. Once we had 3 bank failures, how do you push back, right, if you're the industry? You can't.
Christopher Whalen, investment banker, chairman of Whalen Global Advisors, author of Ford Men from Inspiration to Enterprise, and editor for the Institutional Risk Analyst. Chris, thank you as always. Always insightful. Appreciate it.
Good weekend.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Eating balance of nature, fruits and veggies, is not replacing the fruits and vegetables in your diet. It is fruits and vegetables in your diet. Ask yourself, how many servings of fruits and vegetables have I eaten today? Have you eaten 1, 2, 3, and from how many varieties? Most people are less than 3. Our body is an amazing chemical laboratory, and when you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is 31 different fruits and vegetables prepared in a way to give you the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry. Let Balance of Nature help you supplement your fruit and vegetable intake for a lot less money and a lot less work and a much higher quality of life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows and doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we've been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows. From modern to traditional styles, Marvin replacement windows and doors can bring your garden right into your living space. Let us help make your world feel brighter and spacious. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you'll get a product expert, a design consultant who is solution-minded, and someone who has your best interest in mind. Our professional services, along with the best products like Marvin, are why we are proud of our 5-star reviews. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows is your trusted window and door experts in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation, or come and experience our state-of-the-art showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hi, former CI officer and survival expert Jason Hansen here. I teach people how to prepare for the unexpected. And right now, most Americans with a 401k, IRA, or other types of retirement accounts are not prepared for a financial crisis that could hit the U.S. in the next 45 days